Good evening.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, everyone. How are you? It's telling everybody that we are
It's good
live.
to be back again. It's Friday, IG Live with your favorite couple,
TG,
Doctors Fabi and Bola. You already know.
TGIF, TGIF. Happy Friday, all. How are you all doing? Hope it's been a fantastic week.
Yes, absolutely. I hope you guys are preparing well for your weekend, and it's gonna be a fantastic weekend.
Here this week, as we always do.
Yes.
We're so excited. I think IG's still telling everyone that we're on. But we're so excited, and there
There
they
you
are.
go. There you go.
Hi.
Hi,
Wow.
we're here. Yay,
You,
we're excited.
You're
you
here.
guys look so beautiful.
Oh, you're
Oh,
sweet.
you look so. Listen, I know you guys have been married for so long, but you look like you just got married
You
yesterday.
do.
We're
Wow.
You
still
literally
newlyweds,
do.
Megan.
You
Well,
literally
thank you.
do.
Mhm.
So
We're
we're
so
so
excited to
happy.
be here, you guys. This is so cool what technology can do, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Love it.
Absolutely. We can't wait. It's going to be amazing conversation. Funny conversation because what's alive without fun with Casey and Megan? What is
Yes,
that?
Huh?
yes.
What is
You
that?
know,
That doesn't
and
exist.
and you know what we always say too is like life's already really hard. Adulting is hard,
Yeah.
parenting's hard. Like if you can't laugh at yourself and you can't laugh with each other, it's going to be a
Mm,
Or
hard
laugh at your
long
partner.
yeah, and if you yeah,
yes.
it's going to be a
That too. That
long
too.
long marriage, you know? Yeah.
That too. Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's get started
Yeah.
here. We usually start with a quick prayer.
Love it.
Megan, do you want to start us off?
Oh, I'd love to.
All right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this time and this new friendship that's been created. We all share a passion for marriage, and you, Father, are the one who created marriage, and you want to see healthy, thriving couples. You even created something as amazing as sex. And so
Woohoo.
the details and the communication and working together and the dynamics of differences and personalities and families and all of that, God, you knew we would all be dealing with that and struggling with that and also overcoming that. And so I pray that you would bless this time and anyone who watches live or the replay, who knows in years from now how this will help bless somebody or impact someone, convict somebody, whatever is needed. So thank you so much for this time. And I pray for no tech issues. Amen.
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 Amen to that.
Amen.
That is important.
We
We pray for that every day being a tech company. So, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's such a cool prayer. All right, let's get started with the fun. First, let's get to know you. Tell us how you guys met and how long you've been together. How long you've been married.
So we have been together for 22 years.
No.
Wait,
No,
what?
he's wrong.
What?
We've been together for
Well,
23
I
years.
mean, sorry, married for 22
We've
years.
been married 21 years.
21 years. I'm rounding up. I'm rounding up,
Okay.
but we've been together for
Every man
25
gets it
years.
wrong.
No, stop. Babe, we've been together for 23 years and we've been married for 21 years.
Well, am I just adding?
It's okay.
I think I'm still in my 30s,
I
but
think you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
anyways.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It's
I was
allowed.
part of the freshman welcoming committee, and Megan was an incoming freshman when I met her at
Mm.
college. And it was so amazing because for every one dude that was at college, there was 5 chicks. So it was like very target rich environment. But I
Right.
saw Megan and I was like, you need a private tour. And
Of
I
course.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
dating was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had a blast dating. It was, I mean, it was so much fun. Where I was like, I said, we should do this forever. Like, whatever we're experiencing
Yeah.
here, let's do this for the next 50 years.
Right.
And then we got married.
Yeah. But we're not there yet. She just asked us how we met.
So you
College.
guys dated for like 2 years.
We
Hmm.
did in
Okay.
college. Yeah. Yeah.
But you were a junior in college when you got married. Is that right?
So yeah, Well, I had just turned
Oh.
20. He wanted to get married when I was 19. I'm like, I can't be a teenage bride. I just think that's just too young.
Right. What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I never imagined, by the way, I was always someone that I was like, I'm going to have a career and then I'm going to get married. Like I knew I wanted a family and I want to be a mom. And so it's funny how God's plans are different than yours.
Yeah.
And I'm a very independent person. And I think that if I would have waited longer, I actually don't know if I would have ever gotten married. And I think that was a part of, we've talked about that a lot of it was really good for me because I don't like to ask for help. And I'm again, like I'm one of those people where I'm like, I don't need a man.
Right.
And so it was really interesting to like the first day I moved out of my mom's house at 18, I met this guy and I called her that night. And I'm like, I met the guy I'm going to marry. She's like,
Huh?
you just left the house. Like
Right.
what? She kind of freaked out a little bit. Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
have some other stuff
But I
here.
knew, but I knew. And
What
so,
made
yeah, so
you know? What was that element for you that you just felt like you knew it was him?
excellent questions. So number one is his love for God. Like one of the
Oh.
first questions he asked me, I mean, we were at a Christian university. So I want to clarify, we were at a Christian school. Now that doesn't mean that everyone's a Christian,
Right.
but there's a better chance
Because
that
they are wolf in
yeah.
sheepskin. Yeah.
Trust me.
But there's a better chance that you're going to find a Christian. And
Yeah.
so he asked me about like my relationship with God. And I was so taken back because every guy I had dated, you know, either wanted to get in bed or, you know, didn't really ask me those kinds of things. And I thought, this is amazing. And I also really loved his personality, which I still do. I'm very drawn. He's very fun. He's very passionate. No, I didn't think you were nerdy though.
Getting all the points tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, I like people who are includers. And I was new. And he instantly just kind of took me under his wing and was like, hey, we're going to go to this coffee shop and play cards. And I love card games. And he's like, do you want to come with all of us? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Right.
And I'm an extrovert and he's an extrovert. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I felt something like there was genuinely something about this guy that was completely different from any of the guys I had dated before him.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So Casey,
Wow.
you said earlier, oh nice. You said earlier the school you went to was like one guy to 5 girls. That's like that kind of ratio.
Yeah.
So what separated Meygan out of everyone?
Good question. I want to know too.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, obviously, first impressions for me was Megan's just gorgeous,
She is.
hot.
She is.
Yeah, and I was so nervous talking to her. So I'm not one to like approach someone and say, "Hey, how you doing?" So but I did. I said like, "Hey, what's your name?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so proud of myself to get that question out
Aww.
in confidence that I didn't hear her response.
Aww.
And that night, I probably asked her name. Like, yeah, 5 times. Because every time she said it, I was like all in my head.
Right.
As I got
Like
to
she's actually
know her,
talking to me.
well, as I got to know her, man, her confidence to me was one of the most attractive things. She was very sure of herself. She was very, just she knew her worth. She knew what she was looking for. She knew what she's chasing after. That kind of confidence is sexy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is attractive because there's this surety, there's a strength behind it.
Yeah.
That really I was drawn into.
Yeah.
I would probably say the other people I dated were not as strong as her. And the relationship never went well. And that's because I am a little bit of an Italian stallion. All right.
Yeah.
Like I'm a wild bull. Like I've got a lot of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like this equal force met
Yeah.
equal force.
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it later. That was one of the reasons why our marriage turned a corner for the worse, was because we had so much
Passion and stubbornness.
yeah, competitiveness.
Leaders. We both have a lot of strong opinions.
Yes.
Right.
So sparks flew later.
But it was fun and exciting. And I saw someone commenting like 2 extroverts together, that's rare. And what's interesting is when there's 2 extroverts, like they're unstoppable. We've learned when you're healthy.
Right.
2
When you're
extroverts
healthy.
when you're
Keyword
healthy.
is healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 extroverts when you're together, unhealthy or hurting.
Yeah.
We live that.
Not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know
Yeah,
that.
that is so interesting because he's the extrovert, I'm the introvert. So it kind of balances out. I mean, sometimes he's got way too much energy for me and he loves talking to people. He feeds off speaking to people. I feed off just being by myself with a book.
I do feel like I owe Meygan a little bit more of a list though. So if you allow me to continue,
Sure.
I was also attracted to how much fun you wanted to have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you like were an adventurous person. I love the fact that you loved kids. Like you had this nurturing that. So my mom was been married 6 times. She never gave me any motherly love. And I loved seeing Meygan's maternal, that feminine energy. Oh, I was like so attracted to that. It was like this nurturing part. Now, maybe it was because like it was missing in my life. So as that kind of came out from her, I just was totally drawn to that. And then smart. This chick is smart. Let me tell you.
Wow. I feel really good right now.
I mean, you
I
are
feel so
amazing.
affirmed and so loved.
Yeah.
Hard worker, like amazing. Like her work ethic. She does laps around me when it comes to even marriage 365. Like what she's done for what we're trying to accomplish together. Huh.
I think he wants sex tonight.
Yeah.
You better, sis. You better.
You know,
That's called foreplay, baby.
when you started the prayer and you mentioned sex, I said something is happening tonight.
Yeah,
He is on it,
I think
and
you're right.
you have our blessings. Casey, we pray and hope that it happens tonight. But yeah,
It's gonna happen.
You worked overtime.
Can we wrap this up so we can get to that?
Yes, we're gonna keep these short. We're gonna keep these short and get to it.
Our next question, we typically ask you guys to like describe each other's personality, but I feel like you've done that already. Yeah. So let's just jump into the real stuff. All right, so let's talk about your personalities. Actually, let's start there. You mentioned at some point in your marriage, your strong personalities clashed. How did that? Can you paint a picture to us what that looked like and how you were able to pull yourself out of that ditch to continue on a healthy path?
Yeah, so we are actually more different than we are alike. I mean, it's funny because we talked about we're both stubborn, we're both leaders, but we're also very, very different. And I think there's something about being drawn to someone when you're dating that's different in you, right? Opposites attract. And so really that came crashing within 3 years of marriage. We just had destroyed our marriage, realizing that we were so different. So a couple of those personality differences we tell people. So I'm type A, organized, structured. He's totally type B, spontaneous, adventurous. I am on time. Well, actually, on time for me means early. And he is
more flexible.
Late.
Late.
Yes.
Yes.
These are spontaneous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how he tried to make it look nice.
Yeah. Yeah. He is a spender. I'm a saver.
No, I'm a bringer of joy.
Yes. He is motivated by fun for sure. I would say like for me, actually what's so funny. So he's like the ultimate optimist. Oh my gosh, he's like the most optimistic person in the world. And I was very drawn to that. Okay, but like I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist, but I'm a realist. And so even that dynamic of that personality change was so hard because he'd be like, oh no, we're fine. And we're like drowning. And I'm like, well, no, the reality is like we're drowning right now. And he'd be like, oh no, we'll be good. We'll be fine. And so
we're doing great. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're going to be okay.
You just described us, by the way. I feel like we're the same people and they're the same people.
I'll tell you.
There you go. Okay, the other thing, another difference is he's actually a feeler and I'm a thinker. And this is a one that's typically the opposite for men and women, where I am so, I need a pros and cons list. When I go to Casey, I've already processed it and prayed about it. I always say the 2 P's, process and pray about it. He's a verbal processor. He's a feeler. I don't feel this is good.
You just even the way you said it made you feel overwhelmed. He's a feeler. Whoa.
When we talk about something, I noticed it's like early on, he brings the feelings, the emotions. And what I love about this guy is like he cannot hide his feelings. So like if he's like happy, he's like
Right, like
and
he
if
is
he's
right
like
now.
oh yeah, and if he's like angry, he's like
Mhm.
like his nonverbal is so loud. Like I
So
can
bad.
totally like hide the nonverbal.
I am the world's worst liar. If I try to lie, Megan's like, I see right through
You
you. I
got
see
caught.
right through you.
Yeah. But I even think that like and then I'm a fighter and he's a flighter. So here we are. We've got conflict. And I want to talk it out. I want to hash it out. Not the healthiest ways in the first few years of our marriage. But I was thinking, but at least I'm talking about it. But I was so mean about it. Where he would be like avoidant. And so a lot of these personality differences, the way we approached communication and conflict, you can imagine not
Yeah.
having any tools, we grew to hate each other. And I'm telling you guys, hatred, not we fell out of love and we just don't really love each other. No, like resentment up to here.
Wow.
And I would say probably more on my part. I feel like you're a lot more he's so much more forgiving and I hold another difference. I like to hold grudges and he's very forgiving.
But that was before though, Megan. You're different now, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I will be honest though. I still can have a tendency to hold grudges, but being married to this guy, who is the kindest and most forgiving person, has taught me how to be quick to forgive.
I love that.
It's like one of the.
It's like you want to have sex tonight.
I
mean,
she's
do you guys
really
feel it?
pursuing
She's
that.
trying to do the
Casey, do you
foreplay.
need
She's
a quick
coming on
break
strong.
to handle the business real quick? Do you need 5 minutes?
We can come back.
We only need 3 minutes.
Oh.
Just kidding. Well, we'll talk.
I'm not just a piece of meat, Megan.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right.
so I
I have
see a couple
feelings.
of the comments of like what happened in year 3. Really, it was a matter of it was thing after thing building off of each other, right? To where we didn't have any tools to repair, heal, forgive, and so we just. I always tell people there's unforgiveness and then there's resentment. Resentment is unforgiveness that has now taken root in your heart and in your head. And it is made a camp and it is like gonna die there. And it just so no matter even if Casey took out the trash or kind that day, I had so much resentment I didn't even see it. And so I started researching divorce lawyers. Like I was like, I'm done. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I felt you guys like I had made the biggest mistake of my life. Like, how did I get to this point?
And I was raised in the church, was actually volunteer youth pastor, and I was stuck because I would do a Bible study, lead worship, and a Bible study on Wednesday, and I would come home and like the verbal cussing each other out and the insults and the criticism, chucking shoes at each other, right? Like it was so bad. And the worst thing about that was I was in a church environment where I wasn't safe to raise my hand and say I need help, because if I did, that would disqualify me from ministry, doing the thing that I felt like God was calling me to. So it was a real, like those 3 years, it was like a trap. We couldn't afford therapy. We had no models. My mom's been married. There's 12 marriages between both sets of our parents.
12.
So this is like no examples for how to deal with conflict. Dating was so easy that the switch like was so off, like it caught us totally off guard. Like I have never been an angry person. I was never like, I never had a verbal outburst with anybody in my life. And then I'm married, and now all of a sudden, like, it was almost like, who is this person?
And this is what happened. They say that when you get comfortable, that past trauma then comes out. It's like when you're in a therapist's office and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, where did this come from? It's because you feel safe. And that's what happened is Casey and I, you're on your best behavior when you're dating. Let's be honest.
Of course.
We present our best selves.
Right.
Yeah.
And we get married. We felt safe. We're like, okay, we're married. We got this. We're in each other's camp. And it was like, all this unprocessed trauma
Oh,
and all that baggage. It wouldn't have married if I married you, if I married Steve
Yeah.
across the street, like whoever.
Right.
I brought that in, we brought that into our relationship,
Right.
and it just was a mess, and not having any tools. And so, yeah, that's where we were at year 3. It was bad.
Wow. They typically say the first 5 years of marriage is not really that smooth.
Yeah.
If you could survive that first 5 years of marriage, then your relationship has a better chance of
Making it.
Mm-hmm. And as people could have heard this now, the first 3 years you guys experienced some type of downturn in your relationship. So how did you turn things around that you now went to the upturn in your relationship?
Yeah. So I am so grateful. I listened to some good wisdom from my best friend, and she said, you got to go see a therapist, Meygan. You got to talk to somebody about this. This is a massive decision. I did. I was on the therapist couch for 30 minutes talking all bad about Casey and how it was his fault that we were in this. None of it was my fault, right?
Of course
And
not.
being
You were the
sarcastic,
angel.
of course. But I really believe that with my whole heart. And she goes, okay, you done? I said, yeah. And she goes, and then she said this, and it changed my entire life. And it's now the mantra we live by and we share all the time at Marriage 365. And it was, if you want to make a better marriage, it starts by making a better you. Sorry. Yeah. And, it was like, he's not on the couch, Meygan, and he's not here, but you are. And I can teach you how to be a healthy communicator. We can heal from your childhood trauma. I can show you how to create healthy boundaries, how to soften hearts.
Wow.
I can show you how to forgive, apologize. And that really intrigued me. I'm a very self-motivated person for most things. And so I was like, oh, I like that. It's a message of empowerment.
yeah.
Because at that point, you guys, I had begged Casey, let's go talk to somebody at church. Let's go meet with pastor. Let's go to therapy. No. So you feel very stuck when you don't have a spouse that's willing. And I know that there are many of you, because I'm already seeing comments from people. They're like, oh, I wish my husband would listen. I wish my wife, you know what? There's actually so much more you can do and you have control over on your own than you think you do. You don't need 2 people on board. Now, eventually, yes. And so for 13 months, I worked on myself. I did a complete 180. And you started seeing those changes.
I did. I remember there's this moment, clear as a bell. I'm walking into the room, my face is red, and my nonverbal was like, ah!
Yeah.
Ah! And Megan sees me, and I mean, the most calm, like spa voice.
Yeah.
Yes. She's like, hey, it looks like you're really upset right now, and I really want to hear what you have to say. Why don't you go outside, take a quick walk, gather your thoughts, take a couple breaths, and then let's sit down on the couch and we can have a calm conversation. Right now, I want this to be productive because I love you and I love us.
Wow.
I was like,
Who is that?
is this person?
What?
And I mean,
just
literally, like, I was beside myself because she had set a healthy boundary to say, we are no longer going to engage in conflict, which actually more like combat. We talked about like conflict's okay in relation. It's totally healthy and normal in relationships, but combat.
Yeah.
That's when we
cross boundaries and we hurt
bullet holes and wounds and things like that, right? And that was a moment for me where I had to kind of reflect on myself on that walk of like, okay, so who's the unhealthy person now?
Right. Right.
Oh, that's me. It's no longer her. I can't say it's her. Because see, when we're engaging like that in an unhealthy way,
I would have never.
Guess what? It would be really easy to go, well, she's just as messed up as I am.
Exactly.
I would have fought back. I normally would have fought back and fought back even harder because remember, I'm the fighter.
Right.
So I'd fight, I'd push all the buttons, I'd yell, I'd scream, and he would retreat.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, he's getting a new Meygan. Yeah. He's getting a new wife. And he's like, what the heck is this?
Right.
But it was a new standard of like, you know what? I can be calm. I can change myself. And just by changing me, ended up changing him and his response.
Yeah, because I wanted
and that's a lot to unpack here. You both dropped so many great gems that I just want to highlight a few. The first one, I want to highlight the fact that the importance of community. especially in where you felt safe at that time, Casey. It hurts me that you weren't able to go to church and find that community to feel safe in and confine and say, hey, I need help. You were trusted to also, oversee and help other people, but you couldn't go there to help.
Right.
And what you guys do, what we do, is creating that community that you feel safe, because in every marriage you're going to go through something, right? Whether good or bad, ups and down, you're going to go through something, and having that safety net where you can go to and express yourself. And thankfully, Meygan, you had your best friend to help out. I'm just imagining if that best friend wasn't there, or if she said, you know what, just leave him. He's a douchebag. Leave him, and let repeating the cycle, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th marriages by now. And what God really want you guys to do to impact other marriages, there wouldn't be a marriage 365 today. So just wanted to highlight that importance of having a healthy community, whether that's a friend, whether that is another couple, whether that's like people like us, where we, not only give advice, but also pulling God into the advice that we're giving you. I think everyone listening online right now, or that will listen later, you have to have a community that you can run to. Not 100%. Only when things are bad, but also when things are great.
Things are good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are more people out there than you'd think that also want community.
Yeah.
And that also means you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit. But it's amazing. I mean, you guys are making your own community too, and we have we have like an amazing community at Marriage 365 of just like-minded people and couples that are like, we all want to have a healthy marriage. Like, we all want to be good moms and dads. Like, it's not like we're waking up every day going, I really hope I'm crappy today. Like, no, like, we all want actually the same things.
Can I speak to that too? Because Bola, I really appreciate you saying that about community, because for thousands of years we've always tribed up. We lived inside of communities. Guys, we didn't have therapists 100 years ago.
Right.
So how did people make marriage work without therapy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, because they had community.
Right.
They had an elder aunt or tribesmen that would come alongside and say, here's the healthy mindset to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's tools for your relationship. And now we live in such a, suburbia, if we look back in history, suburbia might be one of the most damaging things we've ever done for society. Because in my neighborhood, people pull up into their garage, close it behind, and I never see them come out again. So we live these isolated lives, and we don't have this life on life contact. And so if you're struggling out there and you're watching this, you can feel alone and in pain. And that right there is like the 1-2 shot that just will take anybody out, put you in a mild depression, because not only am I hurting, but now I'm alone in that. And part of Meygan's and I's healing journey was an on-campus small group at our church called Home Builders University. And it was part of our journey was in a group at a table doing life with these other couples that were in the same child ages.
They put you in the same ages as your children, or and how long you've been married. So it was so great.
Yeah.
It was so healing. And we're still friends with a bunch. I mean, some of those people are still our very best friends.
Love that. Love that.
It's really important. The community is really important. Most especially elder community, right? That you can trust. And a good idea is you can do it for yourself, but you don't have to do it by yourself. So regardless, you still have to do the work. And the work is going to be your benefit, but you don't have to do it alone. You have the community to come alongside with you. So folks, as you are listening, you have Married 365 as a community.
Yours.
You have
yours
us
too.
as a community. You
There's
know,
no excuse.
there's no
There is no
excuse.
excuse not to have a thriving marriage.
Especially with online stuff now.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
even if you don't have it in person, which in person, of course, is great,
It's
you can still get community online. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm going to say in person's
Yeah.
ideal,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason. And then I want to just clarify, when I say a safe person, right? And I know we all four know this, but for someone listening,
Yeah.
they may not know.
Right.
A safe person is always going to point you back to God, truth, and your marriage.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
will also, this also means they are not yes people.
Mm.
They are not just going to be there to validate you and make you feel good.
Yep.
They are going to speak truth in love, hopefully in love.
Yeah.
But what I needed to hear in that moment, and I just want to give a shout out because my best friend who shared this with me to go to therapy actually oversees our social media and is on our staff full time.
Oh,
And it's
I
still my
love
very
that.
and is still my very best friend. So she does an amazing job on our
Love
social media. But
that. She does. She does.
she and I, we have gone through a lot, and we speak truth to each other, but we can cry with each other. But there are times when she's like, Meygan, you're not hearing Casey's perspective. And listen, I know you feel like he's being a jerk, but I actually don't think he's being a jerk. And I need to hear that from her. Like, I need to hear that, you know?
She's on your
And,
side.
Yeah.
and I
In
mean,
the middle of a fight, can you please call Kathleen?
yeah. But you know,
Give
I
her a
think,
ring.
yeah, but I think like that I want to always tell people you're right. You don't want to go to someone because you had mentioned, well, what if that friend said, you know what, you're right, you should divorce him and he doesn't deserve you. That's not actually a good safe friend.
Right.
A safe friend is going to be someone who questions and not questions you as a human, but says, hey, have you thought about the repercussions that this decision is going to make? And again, I go back to another thing that I want to say about marriage when you're sharing with someone is this friend of mine will always love Casey. So I could say the worst thing, like, oh, he did this. And she's still going to go, but this is like, God can heal this, Meygan. Like, God can heal him. Because there are people, and I'm going to say family too, that if you say or share anything bad about your spouse, your marriage, they will never be able to forgive your spouse.
Yeah. They'll
And
hold
what
it
they
like
did.
this. Yep.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So safe people don't do that. Safe people are mature enough to go, I get that we all have our sin, we all have our mess, and that God can redeem anything.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can
Absolutely.
all marriages be salvaged? And I'm talking about marriages that have endured what you guys have endured or currently experiencing that. Can all marriages be salvaged?
I mean, yes.
You say yes.
I would absolutely. But
there's a but.
There's a but. And it's a big but.
A big, a
We
big
like
one.
big butts, and we don't lie. So
Yeah.
We're not going to lie. Mindsets has everything to do with where your heart is at and where your mind's at. And that's this concept of being intentional. With intentionality, like that's a big fancy word to talk about quality and direction of your mindset. Am I living life reactively or am I being proactive? Do I actually have agency in my life to make changes, or I'm just a victim of circumstances? And that kind of mindset right there, that shift of being, I'm going to be intentional in my life. You show me someone who shows up with intentionality, I guarantee you 100% they can turn around their marriage.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing this for a living if I didn't believe that people could change and that marriages could be fixed and healed. I've seen some of the most hardened, dysfunctional trauma. I mean, I've seen some of the worst, and to see the healing that can happen and the redemption happen, it's beautiful. And I think that anyone that becomes a therapist or a coach or a pastor, like, genuinely believes that, because I do believe it, but you have to have a willing person, right? That wants to do that, that's open-minded about it.
And we deal with couples in affair recovery. We deal with couples that are working through
Addiction,
decades of bad behavior and bad the way they've shown up is just critical, mean, or even absent, like they're not even participating.
Or even infidelity. Someone mentioned infidelity.
We work with affair recovery couples all the time that are working through the process. And I will tell you this, when a couple puts in the hard work to recover from an affair, they're actually stronger than most marriages out there, because they know We are one bad decision away from completely putting at jeopardy this
destroying
connection.
everything.
He's
Really.
destroying everything. And so they are vigilant,
Yep.
Yeah.
extra vigilant.
Yeah.
They're intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Like we're gonna be proactive.
yeah, that pain of betrayal is the motivator to go, we
Never.
never want to go through that again.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So we're going to be proactive
Right.
and not reactive. And I believe that that's where a lot of couples just live life
Yeah.
because we don't have the tools or the examples growing up
Yeah.
of what it looks like to be proactive
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Yeah.
Starting even when you're dating.
Yeah.
And so we get married thinking our love is enough. And of course, in America, we're very obsessed with getting married out of love and passion.
Yeah.
And as we know, that isn't sustainable. Like that doesn't, you have to actually have things like
Yeah.
respect and trust and
Yeah.
communication.
And the
I
fruits
mean,
of the spirit. Yeah.
yeah, heck yeah. Self-control. I mean, that's the last one. And that's one of the most important ones in marriage.
Yes.
Self-control, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody with
Absolutely.
AD,
Best for last.
somebody with ADHD, self-control is always the tough one for me.
Oh, I know. That's why you have me.
Well, just really two quick things that I wanted to remember. I said there was a few gems that you shared. And Meygan, maybe one day you and I will come live. But I want to talk about the importance of healthy friendship in marriage. And a lot of women, believe it or not, believe once they're married, they don't need any friends. They don't need any community. It's just them and their husband. And I am on a mission to let ladies know that it's important to have your community, your sisterhood. So that was one thing that you shared. There was one more thing.
And I think, by the way, men need it just as much as women.
Exactly.
And I think for women,
yes.
and I think for women, it's a lot easier for us to get together and go to lunch. Like I just went to lunch with my best friend today.
Yep.
And I think for men, they typically do activities.
Yeah. Right.
But like Casey's a guy out there that like longs to have a deeper bond with dudes.
Right.
Like he wants to go there, but men aren't trained, taught that.
I think Femi and I have a
I think
mandate.
you guys have a thing.
We got a mandate.
Just don't spend all the money, okay?
We
You
gonna
have to
spend
put
money.
you both on
We
the
gonna
budget.
spend money.
Because
We gonna spend money.
We go drive exotic cars around or
Are you
something.
a spender too?
that let's
Uh-oh.
Meygan, you and I have to talk after this because the last thing I wanted to point out is that you took the initiative to work on yourself.
Right.
So we have a lot of couples that we work with that the wife, she wants to really make it work. She's interested in counseling. She really wants to make this thing work. But the husband, or sometimes it's reversed, one of them is not interested. They just think everything is fine. Like, as long as we pretend to still like be in this marriage, maybe because of the children, the society, whatever the reason is, they're in misery together, but one of them is willing. So how you shared that you started counseling by yourself, and it took some time, intentional work on yourself, but then your husband started to notice, and hopefully it sounds like he also followed suit and started working on himself.
Absolutely.
And that way, when you're both healthy individually, you can come together and be a healthy unit.
Yeah. In a sense, you don't have to keep on making excuses that you want to go to counseling when your partner is ready.
Yeah.
The change can start with you first. And like we've heard, it started with Meygan first. And then when Meygan was able to do the work on herself, when she stopped pointing fingers at Casey and she started doing the work on herself, she became the mirror for Casey to change.
Yeah.
Say, look, I'm not healthy. This lady is healthy. What am I doing? I gotta get the handle on this.
Yeah.
And I always say this, and which is, you guys attested to this now. Relationship is about personal development.
Yes.
Once you are able to work on yourself, then your partner becomes the beneficiary of your growth.
Preach it, baby. Preach it. Preach it.
100%. Woo!
No, let me just step in, because that message sucks. Because when we were hurting, I was like,
Well, you
just need to change.
You don't want to hear that when you're hurting.
Yeah,
You
you
don't wanna
just
hear
need to
it.
change, and then our marriage is going to be amazing if you change.
Yep.
And what happens is we constantly want to put the blame. We kind of just move it over the chips to the other side of the table and say,
Yeah.
this is your
Yeah.
stuff. You're the one being sensitive. I'm just, being me.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, yeah, marriage is one of the greatest institutions for personal development, for growth and maturity that God uses
Right.
to mature us. And it was funny because we were just talking about this on a podcast, is that, Meygan's kind of my forcing function for maturity, because I have to interact with her. Now, if I was single, I could say whatever I want to whoever I want to, and no one's going to sit there and go, that is not appropriate. When we come away from parties, Meygan's usually like, that was not an appropriate comment.
Like, I think you kind of took it too far.
Or, but that's...
You did a little too much.
Yeah. Pull it back, baby. But
Yeah.
if I was single, I wouldn't have that in my life.
Buffer.
And the idea is that as we continue in our marriage, we grow into the fullness of maturity,
Yeah.
of the fruits of the Spirit.
Yes.
That Meygan's helping me. And in a lot of ways, like the places that I loved you, I saw your guys' video where you guys are back to back and you guys are covering each other's weaknesses. I love that because
That visual.
Because Meygan, if done right, this is so important because we are more different. But what we've done is we've leveraged the strengths of each other to make a more stronger unit. That it's like Team Caston. It's this third entity that's really, really powerful, bigger than both of some of our parts.
Individuals, right? Yeah, we're stronger, we're better together than as individuals. And I'm going to say the message you said, Femi, it doesn't suck, right? But it's amazing. We were all clapping and applauding, and it sounds like everybody watching was it too.
Yeah.
But it's true, when you're so hurting and you're in this blame defensive mindset, it's the last thing, it's the non-sexy thing that you want to hear. And I think this is the issue that a lot of people experience in therapy. And I'm just going to go there, and I'm sorry because you might get some hate people, but just hear me out, because we're pro therapy. But a lot of times, like, my therapist in that moment could have been like, wow, it sounds like your husband's a narcissist. It sounds like you should divorce. Never meeting my husband, hearing his side.
Yeah.
So true.
About that.
Yeah.
You guys, this happens all the time. We hear the stories every day at Marriage 365. And I think that this is the problem with therapy, is therapists are beautiful and amazing people because they're trained to be what? Empathetic.
Right.
Really great listeners, and they validate. They validate pain.
Yeah.
Now, the best therapists are ones that also will challenge your thinking and call you out in love, and they have the tools to do that. But there's a lot of therapists that they want the reoccurring paycheck, and they actually don't really care too much about if you grow, but they know that you feel good walking away because I just validated you. I made you feel good. I told you that your husband or your spouse is a psychopath. And so you're right for feeling everything. And that fuels against exactly, Femi, what you just said, is like, there's so much about like, it's self-growth. If you want to be in a healthy relationship, two healthy people make a healthy relationship. That's friendship. That's mother-daughter, right? Like, that's mother, like any dynamic, it's two healthy people create a healthy relationship. And so the goal is that we would be working on ourselves, right? And then if you think about a relationship with Jesus, Jesus is already healthy.
Well,
we're the unhealthy one.
Right.
Can I
Trying to get healthier so that we can have that relationship with
Can I
him.
add to that, though, is because marriage is supposed to be a place of happiness and joy. But when we walked into marriage, I think, Meygan, you're supposed to make me happy. And there was this expectation and burden, by the way, that she was meant to carry in this like, you're gonna make me happy, that's your backpack to wear. And when she didn't make me happy, that's when the rage and like, you're letting me down.
You're not doing your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you here?
And the message of, if you want to make a better marriage, it starts by making a better you. Means that I derive my joy and happiness on my own.
Yes.
And then I get to share that with Meygan.
Absolutely.
And she
You
does
say
the
that
same
all the time
thing.
too.
Yeah, because it all flows from you. If you don't have anything, it's like a bottle of water. think about the bottle itself as you as an individual, but then think about the content of the water as being the water, as being your love, as being your joy, your happiness. If you don't have enough water in you to pour into someone else, how dare you going to be asking somebody to fill your cup when you have not filled their cup, when you don't even have enough in you to fill their cup, right?
Yeah.
So it starts with you that you must be well filled up, well fed, if we're talking about food wise, right? So the content must be.
Which food are you talking about?
Good food.
That escalated quickly.
I love it.
What is...
Are you a foodie? Wait, are you a foodie also? Do you love
which food, Meygan? Which one?
Well, you know what?
Because
I mean, if we're talking about the real food, right?
what's the real food? Like edible things that we put...
not the one. Not the
I'm
one.
just curious because Casey gives food analogies because he just loves to eat food.
I do.
He says that the sixth love language that Gary Chapman missed was food.
It's
He's
food.
like, he missed it. It's food.
Someone prepares me a meal. It is like I like feel the love. I feel the love.
I've actually asked him, do you love sex more than food? And he's like, I don't know if I could choose.
But I eat while I am having sex.
Oh,
No,
we're not
No,
going
you
to
don't.
explore
No,
that.
you don't.
Say it.
No,
We
you
should.
don't. You
And
do really?
Another time.
We need to have another live on. We call it sessions here. We call it sex sessions. We have to have a whole nother live on
Yes,
that.
we have so much to say about that topic.
Yeah, we need to save that
because
topic.
by the way, we had a horrible sex life for 7 years.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we'll have to come back and
No,
talk about
let's
that
talk
for
about that one right now.
Why
Ooh,
on
go
that
there?
topic?
Let's
go
do
there.
it. Let's do it. Yeah.
I love it.
Wait a minute. Give me 5 seconds to just laugh this up a
Oh
little
my
bit.
God.
I mean,
I'll go.
Yeah, go for it. I want to talk about how you were the
I
virgin.
need water.
This is a water break, guys.
It's getting warm in here.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'm just having a picture of like actually having sex while I'm like chewing in like a baby back rib or something like that. And just like, this is amazing. This smoked meat is great.
let me just say the fact that Casey can actually be on a live or when we speak or on a podcast and talk about sex is amazing. Wow. And he's going to tell you why from his background. Mm-hmm. I'm so proud of you right now.
You are?
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
We're proud of you, Casey.
We're proud of you.
Yeah. Tell us all about it.
I mean, he's getting warm right now, and he's getting. I can tell.
It's still a little.
He's working through it, but I'm so proud of him. Yes. Okay. So why don't you
share a little bit about? I'll talk. I can talk about.
Very conservative. Very.
I grew up in a very conservative Christian background, home. I remember, and we'll go there. I was in 3rd grade. I went to a Christian school. And someone told me you should say the word vagina. I didn't know what it was. So I said the word, and the principal took me to the office and he gave me a spanking. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you've done that. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about what that, like.
Wait, what?
If you say these words, you get in trouble.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And think about how that can start to construe, like, what is sex? What does that mean? This obviously is a very dirty and very like bad thing. Mm-hmm. And then growing up in what we call the purity culture, right? I kiss dating goodbye. Like, don't have sex. And if you don't have sex, then God will reward your obedience with an amazing marriage. And I was like, well, I want a great marriage. Of course. Who doesn't want a great marriage?
He also wasn't allowed to walk around with his shirt off. And he's like a dude, like in his own home. Like, just, they didn't talk about anything. Let's just talk about science and anatomy. Nope. Nothing was talked about in his home.
No.
Did you grow up in a Nigerian home by any chance?
Is this common in Nigerian homes? Is that the same thing? Okay.
Oh yeah. Like, you would never have a conversation about sex or anything about your body with your parents. And then you turn 25, they're like, where's your husband? Where?
And you're like,
why are you not married?
Okay. Yeah. So let me just quickly share. Well, I was gonna say, so my background.
Okay.
Which is really quick. So I grew up also in a conservative Christian home, but at my church, there in the youth group for high school, they actually had something called Sex on Sundays. And that room was filled, by the way. And they brought in experts and they educated us on like why people should wait. It wasn't just a command from God, but there's actually endorphins and hormones that happen and it skews your judgment and all the kind of stuff. And so I had just a completely different experience with my church talked about it. Now, my parents didn't talk too much about it. And I did lose my virginity when I was in high school. And I had felt so much shame about that. I thought, well, I'm never going to marry a man who's going to be a virgin because like I'm broken and, you know, whatnot. But I also knew that I really liked sex. And I also knew that like it was from God. And so I just didn't have that skewed version of it. I had a much, I would say, healthier view of it. And I knew my anatomy. So like at least I knew my anatomy. Like I was very clear about that. And I remember when we met, like he couldn't even say the word penis without laughing. And I'm thinking, that's just on your body.
Well,
like it's not even sexual.
But think about, I and maybe it's kind of like washing over me in a new way, but think about what kind of message I got. Spanked for saying an anatomy word. Now, I don't know, maybe you could argue, was that appropriate? Did I use it appropriately or at appropriate time? I don't know. I don't remember that. But all I remember was I said this word. It was bad. So I like came into marriage. I waited till I was married to have sex.
So we didn't have sex when we were dating. We only kissed. We stayed pure. I respected that. He respected that. That was a decision.
So we get married. We get married, and all of a sudden it's like you go from 0 to all of a sudden on
100.
And there's no on ramp. There's no conversations. Nobody in my family. Nobody.
No.
I was you know in a youth group. Nobody in my youth group were
talk about it at all. Yeah.
No. So it was like 0 to 100, and I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to like have a conversation. Like, what am I supposed to ask Meygan?
Well, he didn't even think you talk about it. So number one issue was we didn't have the skill sets and tools to talk about it. We didn't even know what to ask. And if I had brought it up, he felt very uncomfortable, which then, you know, you can only push it so much on someone and you're like, they're so uncomfortable. Yeah.
You're saying the word again.
Yeah. And then, you know, you compile the fighting and the like combat and the baggage and all that, right? That doesn't make it fun either.
And then this was the big aha. You ready? I thought that the pleasure I experienced while having intercourse was the same excitement she was feeling. And I thought this was something we share. So what do? We take off our clothes, we have intercourse, I finish, and we're done.
Yeah.
And that was great sex. And unfortunately,
not for me.
Right. And you weren't
missing.
talking about it, so you didn't know any better. Yeah.
I didn't know any better. And I'm so sad that so much of our youth was wasted on bad sex. I mean, just come on.
You know, like
it's okay because you have so many more years.
No, that was great.
Now, I want to know. This is interesting to me. I mean, it's so much that I wanted to say, but how were you able to break the news to Casey? Like, look, dude, you sucks. Like, like I'm not feeling the same thing you're feeling. Like, how were you able to confidently open up, have that conversation? Right. And also, at one point in time, did Casey reveal his trauma to you? That, look, I'm this way and I'm feeling this way because of what I went through.
But did he even know that? Because sometimes
we're going to answer all that.
Yeah, you're living out your trauma sometimes, and you don't even know that you're living out your trauma. Were you even aware of that?
So first couple.
Are you asking me?
Well, let me say this.
I wasn't aware of that. I walked into marriage so blind.
Ultimate optimist.
Yeah. I minimized all of my childhood wounding, all of the sexual stuff like that. I minimized all of that. I thought I was just a normal. I've got the hots for Meygan, and I'm ready to have sex. So that must make me a healthy man.
Right.
That was it.
So let me just share this. So obviously I had sex, you know, with someone different, not knowing Casey, of course, in my past. And so I knew also like what was more normal or what at least I was hoping was going to happen. And so I remember thinking, well, this guy's a virgin. He doesn't know any different. So for the first few months, you know, you're a new wife. I didn't say anything. I'm like, it's going to be short. Love you.
It
Last
was
like a minute or two, you know, if we're lucky, you know.
first time.
First time, no. But I was trying to be gentle.
We're talking like movie title, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Done in 60 seconds.
Okay, but see, again, I had a little bit more realistic expectations, right? So I'm like, this is normal. He's a virgin. I'm not. We'll get there. Like I was thinking marathon, right? Not a sprint.
Right.
So
I
probably
love that
within,
mindset.
yeah, and that's kind of where, and I was fine with that. And I was like, I'm going to put my needs aside for now, and I'll be fine with that. But after a year or two, I was like, I like sex and I want an orgasm, and this isn't fun. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm very embarrassed of how I approached it. I was very critical. I didn't know what to ask. He felt very judged. He felt embarrassed. And so that would just shut down everything. Right. And then we wouldn't say anything. Then for like 4 years, I just stayed quiet, which is what a lot of women do. And I know you know
Yeah.
this. Is in the women culture, women, we were like, you know what? We just got to be good wives. We just, you know, we don't want our men to go out looking for it somewhere else. You just tell yourself all this horrible stuff. Finally, as we were repairing our marriage, I got honest. And actually, the way that it happened, and I don't know if you remember, is I wanted to introduce a sex toy. I wanted to introduce a vibrator because my thought was, I don't know if he's ever going to change. And so I remember going to a sex toy party, like girlfriends. It was funny and it was silly, whatever. And I said, hey, like, would you be interested in this? And it actually was like the first time we had a conversation about sex
Wow.
that was really helpful. And he was the little hurt by it. And he's like, wait, are you replacing me?
Yeah.
But all that to say,
I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know any of it. I explained more, but it actually opened up a door. Forget the sex toy because I don't want to trigger anybody. Be like, would you guys use them? Is it bad? Is it good? That's not the conversation.
That's besides
The
the point.
point is that it actually opened the door for me to say, I want foreplay. I want more. I don't feel what you feel during intercourse. And then as we started having these conversations, everything completely started to change. And it has been only uphill since then. And I feel like, so what we tell couples, and we would tell anybody listening that's struggling, is starting to talk about it is actually the first step. And I promise you, it will be uncomfortable. I guarantee it. But if you go in with it in the mindset of we both want a healthy sex life, and that who created sex? God.
Right.
Like that, if you go in with that mindset and you come with a really good attitude and as a learnable, teachable person, you'll be great. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
so
That's so wholesome.
Yeah.
Kindness goes a long way,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it.
that's right.
And you know, you're right. We counsel a lot of couples that are having issues with their intimacy that the husband doesn't know. He's maybe very optimistic, that, you know, similar to you, and he just thinks everything is great as long as I can get it in, and you know,
Yep.
we finish under, you know, 5 minutes or whatever. But she's feeling something completely different. But you coming, and I love, one thing I love about both of you is your sense of accountability and how you own up to, you said, I feel ashamed with the way I approached it. And waiting 4 years, sis, you are a patient woman, right? Because in addition to everything else going on in your marriage at that time, which you shared with us, I can only imagine adding this on top of it. It's just escalate that feeling of resentment even more. Like he's not even like pleasing me in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, he's being a selfish lover. And I was like, I wanted to be a selfless lover. And I will say, I think men in general, I feel bad for men because I don't believe porn is a horrible way to educate. And unfortunately, a lot of men use pornography. And then I think like we are not teaching our men how to actually be good lovers. And who has that conversation? And again, going back to your tribe, like typically in a tribe, that would be the guys, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Right. Let me just tell you, I did not want to be a selfish lover. It wasn't like I was like, all right, you're just my piece of meat, and that's it. Like I wanted to be. I just did not know how to like approach the topic. I didn't know how to ask the questions. it took me some time to overcome some of my own, like, I can say, I can say penis without giggling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. So I mean, like, yes, clitoris. There you go.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
See,
Our
but
brain-
I
our
just,
brains are
but I didn't know how to do that, and I
Yeah.
think it really. But we talked about intentionality, right? If we are wanting to be a great lover,
Yeah.
we have to be intentional.
Right.
We have to be intentional to say, okay, what's our plan?
Yeah.
Let's get a plan. Let's pull in resources.
Yeah.
Let's get tools. Let's get some learning, some understanding, some
Right.
wisdom. And that is intentionality. Now, there's so many people that are in a very unsatisfying sex life,
Yeah.
but they're being reactive. There's no plan. There's no tools.
Yeah.
And they will never change until they get intentional.
Yeah.
And
And that was what changed for me.
And going back to, we have a lot of friends who are sex therapists. And
Okay.
what I love, the message they give is they always tell people 10% of the time people come to us and it's actually like an issue where like there's pain during sex or there's a sizing issue, if you know what I mean, or there's an ejaculation issue. Okay. She's like, and the good news is a lot of things like surgery, pills, steroids, technique, positions can fix all that. Because 90% of the problem are the issues out of the bedroom.
Here we go.
The lack of communication, the resentment,
The tension. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to asking the question, Femi, earlier, are all marriages, can marriages be fixed? Yeah. And I would say, including sex. I think that people are obsessed with like, oh, we're not compatible. We weren't either, but we weren't talking about it and we weren't open-minded. And I think if you've got two people who love each other and love God and are like, you know what, we want to have a good sex life, you can get it.
Hold
You
on.
can have it.
Soapbox moment for a minute. Just a second. Okay. Femi,
Go for
Paula, listen. You know the place that should be the sanctuary for the greatest sex education should be the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Because it's something that God has
Amen.
created
Good.
and we shy away with it. We've got a Puritan mindset of like, ooh, that's something private. But I mean, good Lord, you know this. How few churches resource for their marriages only when they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They go see a counselor. But no
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
Then, so we've got a retreat once a year.
So
If you're lucky.
If you're
If you're
lucky.
lucky,
I mean,
right.
you guys are like us, and we know the importance of anyone listening going to a marriage retreat. They're life changing.
Okay. So then you're going to get the Christian marriage speakers to get up there and they don't talk about sex. They're going to talk about communication. And so what happens is there's a lack of education amongst the body of Christ about the beauty behind it. So what we've seen is this. This is the tactic of the enemy. He does everything he can. He knows how powerful sex is, by the way. He knows all the hormones and what God has created is so beautiful and so pleasurable. We bring ourselves to pleasure. Like that's a fun, playful place to be. And he will do everything he can to get us into the bedroom before we commit to marriage. And that creates a whole host of problems.
Yeah.
Right.
And then a switch happens.
Yep.
Once we say I do, he does everything in his power to keep us out of the bedroom.
Out of it. Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
People
It
need
is.
to recognize that this is
It is
happening. Like, this is a real thing.
Right.
The
As a
word of
couple.
God says the devil comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy.
Right.
Right. Those are his missions.
Right.
And to divide. And to divide.
And to divide. Yeah.
And it starts with the marriage. He works at divisions.
Yeah.
That's his.
And as you guys know, working with couples, what's one of the first things to go when couples are struggling? Their sex life. It's
Their
just
sex,
how it
yeah.
goes. It's a really common one.
Because once you start having communication issue, emotional issue, there's going to be that withdrawal, and it's just going to be a slippery slope from there, and it affects your sex life.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to bring out is when we are talking about men being a leader, part of the job of being a leader or a description of being a leader is to be able to serve. And serving also comes into the play of intimacy.
Yes.
So you come into the bedroom to serve.
Yes.
Because as a leader, we get the example from Jesus.
Yes.
And Jesus says, I've come to serve and not to be served.
Exactly.
So if we are a follower of
Yes. I love that.
So
It's
now,
real. It's true.
now, there's been a couple nights.
Mother's Day, my birthday,
I go, hey, I am here to
I
serve
love
you.
it.
This is not about me.
Yeah.
in the bedroom.
And
And
let's
I'm like,
ring
I'm
that
not,
bell.
yep.
Let's ring that bell twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
But let's ring the bell for you.
Yeah, there's been several times I tell ladies, I go, let's see how selfless your husband is as a lover and say, hey, it's my birthday. I don't want it to be about you. I want it to be about me tonight. Are you good to give that gift to me?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And a good man, a godly man will be like, absolutely, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's so this. I don't even. We are what, an hour already into. We have not. We've
Have you
gotten through
really?
like 2 questions.
Yeah.
So let's switch it a little bit. Let's talk about finances.
Babe, before we talk about finances,
Okay.
this is really critical. Just one thing.
Shoot for it, babe.
And this cuts across so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, this is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
When Casey was talking about how he was punished for saying the word vagina, for so many years, he associates punishment with the word vagina. Now, let's think beyond that. His interpretation of the punishment was that this is the wrong word to say.
Yeah.
That was his interpretation. The person who punished him did not explain why this is not an
appropriate thing to do.
Exactly. This is the reason why I'm punishing you. But he got a different interpretation from it. When we discipline our kids, they are already formulating their interpretation of their discipline action without us expressing the reason why I'm disciplining you.
Yes.
So we may be creating traumatic childhood experiences for our kids if we are not expressing and engaging and telling them, I'm punishing you because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So that they don't formulate a wrong interpretation and then they get to live with that wrong assumption, which now not only affects them, but it also affects the partner that they're going to get married to.
I love that.
Yes. And
my
and
husband has a PhD in counseling, and did you see how he just analyzed and just broke it down? I love that.
And you know what? That is so powerful, and you're so right, because we've taught our children there are no such thing as stupid answers, stupid questions.
Yeah.
We want to be the safest people, whether you're a child or when you grow up, to ask mom and dad, because what I don't want our kids doing is going on Google or going to porn or asking their friend that has no idea these things. And we want to create safe places for our spouse and our children to go to at any point to say, I feel, and you just say it, I feel stupid asking this. And then you know your spouse is like uncomfortable about it, right? But I always coach women and coach men to go, it's okay to say, like, I feel silly asking this, but I have a question. And to say, like, I don't actually know how to bring you to orgasm, or I don't know like how you like to be touched, or whatever those things are, right? And educating, you're right, that person that did that, shame on that person, but who did that to you didn't even realize the impact that they'd have. But we're all learning, and just because we're adults doesn't mean that we've arrived and we know what we're doing. And it's like we almost assume that person should have said, well, Casey doesn't know, he's in 3rd grade. Well, there's a lot of 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds that also don't know. And it's like, oh, hey, just so you know, this is it. And if we had more conversations that just normalized asking questions about sex, I would love that. It's just our world has gone so bizarro on the other side of it. And just asking really interesting questions with motives and agendas and whatnot like that. But it's like, there's just some basic 101s that people need to know. And you shouldn't feel bad for asking questions and not knowing.
Right. And there's so many elements within that whole intimacy topic. I mean, obviously we can't get through everything here. That's why we have retreats, guys. Marriage 365 has one. They have theirs in October. We have ours in June. I mean, you have to do the work at some point. You guys are Mexico. No, you're
going to Mexico.
No, we
I
are
want to know
in
your
Punta
retreat.
Cana.
Punta
We're
Cana,
in Punta Cana,
Dominican Republic.
DR, and then you guys
Oh,
are. We're
Dominican Republic.
we're gonna try to go
Sorry.
to each other's retreat
Yes.
next year. So you have to do the work, people. Like you
Yeah.
just can't be like, you know, my marriage is this, is that, and not put in the work. You see us here, we've put in the work. Marriage that work is because they've put in the work.
Right.
So just putting that out there. Go on Marriage 365. Go on our website. There is a retreat. We always have events going on. We have this live going on to help you. We're bringing those resources to you so you don't have an excuse anymore to say, you know, your marriage just isn't working or it's miserable. So lastly, let's get into finances.
Yes.
Finances. So with everything that you guys experienced the first 7 years and then, you know, leading up to now, how has your finances evolved and what have you learned? How do you manage it? And you said something earlier that you both have different spending habits.
Yeah.
So how do
one?
Yes, and
Well, we're just so thankful. There's money coming out the walls, so we don't even have to manage it. It's just like it's like
it's
a
right
spigot.
there.
You just
Yeah, I
open
see
up
the
the
drink
spigot,
went
all
right
this
there.
cash comes out, and it's amazing. So that means we get to have as much fun as
Can
we
we
want, and we
move
never have to
into
talk
your
about it.
house, please?
Yeah.
Should I talk about how money it just isn't the money?
Well, so yeah, Megan and I, what we've discovered and learned when working with couples and coaching couples is, and looking at our own life, really, is that money, when couples want to discuss money, it's never about dollars and cents. Oh, you spent $12 more than you should have, right? It's about the value of money. What does money represent to a couple? So, for example, for me, my mom's been married 6 times. I had 10 different iterations of home before I even hit junior high. My second father would spank me with a belt and wash my mouth out with soap pretty much every night. So it was like this sustained trauma. I did not have a fun childhood. I was restricted. I went to new schools. I went to 10 different schools growing up because I kept getting kicked out of the other one. And fun was just not there. So when I think about having money, I think I get to have more fun.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we want to experience all of these things because that's fun? Now, but for Megan, safety. Money represents safety.
Safety and security.
I've got a safe place. So when we're going toe to toe about where should we go on vacation or what kind of car should we buy, it's not about the car.
Yeah.
It's about, well, which level of fun, or will there be enough money left over that keeps me safe?
Yep.
Or can we all have all the fun that we want?
Yeah.
And that's actually the real fight. And so when we're couples need to start to bring that out in the open, bring that out into awareness, like what does money represent to you? Because when we are talking about money, we're actually having a conflict of values. And values are so important. Now, values are formed from our childhood, like watching our parents interact with the world, how they loved us, how they didn't love us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Formates of values. And that is what, when we are in a relationship with somebody and we're in close, intimate space, man, I would say like 70% of conflict comes out of these value clashings.
Yeah, so I'd be curious if anyone's live. Like I saw someone say like money equals safety, but I would like sometimes money represents power.
Yeah.
Sometimes money represents freedom. Like, oh, I have the freedom to do what I want to do. Sometimes money represents, you know, like I was gonna say, like it's almost like it's just a necessity. It doesn't really mean anything much to me. Status, right?
Right.
There's
more people will love me if I have more money.
Yeah.
Or
so-
I'll be validated the more successful I
Yes.
become.
A lot of people that are really like workaholics, right? They tend to, there's a drive there for some reason, right? So if you think about it that way, yeah, and our values really are, that's how we're making choices. And so for me, yeah, when I want to save something, I'm like, hey, it's better. I'm a planner. It's smarter to like have a saving and a nest egg, right? And he's like, yeah, but I value fun, right? Is one more better than the other? And we could sit here and argue all you want about it. But what we realized is it's not about Casey's way or Meygan's way. It's actually about both of our
Yeah.
ways. And so there are times when we have to save, and there are times when I need to loosen the purse strings and spend and have fun.
Yeah.
It's both.
Let's go hike that glacier, babe.
Because we're a team. We're a team. And that's the reality. And then also for anyone listening that's ever experienced this, in 2008, when the economy crashed, he lost his job. We were forced to move in with my mom, which was horrible. And we had a brand new baby at the time. And I'll tell you, when you lose we lost everything. Everything. Our home, our cars, everything. Because we were living paycheck to paycheck. We had debt, the whole bit. And when you lose everything, you realize actually what really matters in life, and money's not up there on the top of your list. Because you look at these countries that are second world countries, third world countries, and there's a lot of really amazing,
Happy
happy,
people. Yeah.
generous,
Yeah.
wonderful
Kind.
people should be generous. You're like, you have nothing, and they are the most generous people. And that right there, if you think about that, that will really help you in your mindset of where money falls on your value list. Because some of the best times in our marriage when we've been the poorest, to be honest with you, because it really simplified things. And so that's kind of the first homework assignment is, what does money represent to you? Ask your spouse that. What is it? Have that conversation. Again, not right or wrong. You can't be like, well, why is it success for you? No, like, don't go, just learn and be open to have that conversation.
Yeah. That's really important to understand the relationship you have with money. Either as something that was ingrained to you from childhood, how you watch your parents, how they handled money, and understanding that you don't need to be judgmental because you have a different relationship with money, and or you are more of a spender versus you are a saver. It's just more of what you said, finding the balance. That there'll be times where it's not going to be my way, it's going to be your way. And there are times where you have to sacrifice your way, it's going to be our way, because it's for the benefits of
your family.
Of the family. I want you to have fun, but I also want safety. I don't want us to be kicked out of the house, right? So it's the balance.
And you have to have boundaries around money. Is what I've learned in our marriage, especially when you're so different. I know I don't like to deny, because I'm the saver, and sometimes he'll be like, I want to spend this on so, and I'm like, do you really need that? Can you do without it?
I want to go on a private jet because it's fun.
I'm like,
fun
is not.
You can take Casey on your private jet. He would love to join you on a private jet.
Debbie and I are having a mandate on his private jet. Sorry,
I'm like, no, son.
Take my yacht to get to the airport.
Oh my gosh.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I also just, my last thought about the money is accountability. The reality is that people don't want to be held accountable. And Casey and I, when we were first married, we did not want to be accountable. We did not want to have to answer to each other. And when you're single, you don't have to be accountable for your money. You really, eventually to the bank you will have to be, or the loans you took out. But if you think about it, it's like, hey, I bought this, or I feel like we should spend money on this because of this, or I'm making this purchase. And I think that's where like you've heard of like financial infidelity happens. Is because like, well, I don't want to, when we did that to each other in those first few years of marriage, by the way, we were big financial infidelators. It
was betrayal.
It
was lies. It was
broken
behind each other's back.
Spending.
And it was lack of accountability. All of the traits found in sexual affairs can happen
with money
as
financial affairs. Yeah. And it does the same damage. The reality is the same. It breaks trust, right? And so what I would say is that, I think we live in a world where you hear a lot of couples will say, well, you should have separate bank accounts. Well, the people who say that, they don't want to be held accountable. Now, I know that there's reasons why some people should have separate bank accounts, like blended families sometimes, depending upon like child support with ex-wife or whatever. And I get that. But other than that, if it's your first marriage, you should have a joint account. You are one. You are a team. And in order to be that way, you're going to have a joint account and be accountable and face your money together.
Right. Absolutely. All right, let's tie it all back together. How did you go from having those struggles in your marriage with, just each other, contentions, and sexual intimacy issues there, and how did you now become this Marriage 365 where you're impacting other couples and so healthy now, with beautiful children, beautiful family, and now you're helping other couples.
Beautiful dog too.
Beautiful dog. Can we see? Where's your dog?
He's on my lap.
Oh, there he is. Grace is on. Grace loves dogs.
He's the third person in this marriage.
He's the baby that they love a lot right now because he doesn't talk back. So
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you?
I will tell you that.
He loves.
Okay, I'm on the live.
Casey's alpha. So
I'm on the live. Okay.
He's like, well, hurry up. Let's go.
It's dinner time.
that's why he's like, "Ooh, I'm hungry."
So I would say this: no one gets into marriage ministry because they want to get rich or famous or or win a popularity contest.
Mhm.
It's a hard thing to walk through people in their most like shame-filled moments, the most embarrassing moments that they feel embarrassed of what they've done, or they're in that hurt of what somebody else has done to them. So it's a hard place. So I will say this, that we never set out to do this because honestly, guys, we were the worst at marriage. We're the least likely to succeed. We're both stubborn. We're not therapists. We're not trained.
Well, we're trained now, but
when God approached us, he gave Meygan a dream. And that dream was almost something that was laughable. Like, who in the world is going to pay attention to what we have to say about relationships when we were the most egregious? We violated all the rules.
But then you read the Bible and you're like, God used always the least of these, and the messy and the broken. And I was like, oh man.
And so
that's us.
The candidates.
I think actually when I think about like when the call came, I mean, we had healed our marriage, we worked on our marriage, but there wasn't a lot of tools or resources out there. And so as we started to like answer God's call, almost like, well, I guess we're going to do this. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, no one's going to pay attention, but we'll do this anyways. We started to share our story and be vulnerable about, the embarrassing sex stories and how bad I love her. Because like God was like, Casey, I want you to get up on a platform and I want you to tell people how bad of a husband you are. And I was like, really?
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But I think about poor little Casey and Meygan.
Yeah.
When they're first married, they were completely thrown off guard of like how hard marriage was. They didn't have a safe place to talk. They didn't have someone that was real and honest with them. There was not a person in their corner saying, Casey, I want you to get in there. I want you to be courageous. I want you to lead well. I want you to serve. Like Dr. Femi said, I want you to serve well your wife, love her. And Casey, I want you to enjoy her breasts and just thoroughly be enjoy. Hey, Proverbs says that.
He says
It
that.
does.
Let our breasts satisfy you at
Enjoy
all
her
times.
breasts, and enjoy each other in your bodies and the laughter but here's the conversations I want you to have. Here's the mindsets I want you to have, and that today when we think about the content we create with Marriage 365, the tools that we've created, we really look back at that couple and there's a lot of empathy. There's a lot of like, oh, I love you guys, and I feel that lostness. And that's where we approach and we move forward. And I will say, like, if you want to learn something, you teach it, because then you have to learn. Or is that right? Yeah, makes sense. Because I have become the greatest beneficiary of Marriage 365. And if that's the case, mission accomplished. If anybody else gets anything, cool. But I have changed for the greater.
We say this all the
And our
time.
marriages too.
We say this all the time. When we come out with our books and these worksheets we have, they really come from the fact of what do we need in our marriage? Like, how is this going to help us? Then we test it out. We problem solve. We're problem solvers. Both of us are big problem solvers, fixers. So we are like, okay, wait, we can't make a decision together. Like, okay, decision on why we only had 2 kids and not 3 kids. Huge decision that couples make all over the world. Why is there no formula out there for couples to follow with that?
Right.
So we came up with one.
Right.
Yeah.
We tested it. It worked.
Right.
We tested on a few other couples.
About apologies.
It worked.
Right.
Okay, apologies. Most people are just going, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? And then they're not feeling validated. There's no behavior change. And we thought, well, what if we actually came up with steps to follow to apologize? Oh, that's where the 4-step apology came out, right? Mm-hmm. We have a big thing that we do called the 60-second blessing that people were kind of known for. It's all over YouTube. You got to check it out if you haven't. Mm-hmm. This simple 2-minute habit is changing people's lives. And it really came from our brokenness, and it's the tool we used when we were hurting in our marriage to rebuild. And we're like, this works because we've lived it. So we never give anything to couples that we haven't tested or tried ourselves.
Good. Same here.
I know you guys are the same exact. That's why we love you guys, because you're the same way. And then you kind of, test it on other couples, and you tell them you're our test dummies, and that and then they come back and they're like, well, we should tweak this, we should tweak that. And that's
same thing here.
Yes. And that's really like, it's real life couples. Cause I think that that's again where I'm not bad mouthing therapy, because I went to therapy. We love therapy. But I think that if more therapists were there and they taught and they guided and they actually gave the couples tools to utilize in between sessions, it would be more, there'd be way more success.
Right. Absolutely. I think, God definitely called you guys into this.
He did.
And your stories just remind me of Paul. Paul said, I'm the least of the apostle. But God showed up to him and he was transformed. And Paul wrote many more books in the Bible, more than any other apostles.
All them letters.
Right? So you could consider yourself the least of the marriage experts, but you are being used globally.
Yes. And God will continue to use you.
And God will continue to use you both. And
we're inspired.
The interesting thing that people got to know, and I said this in one video, is that it's interesting how God does something, that he uses imperfect people to teach imperfect people. I said, wow, how do you use
I love it. Yes. That's so
we're really good finger pointers.
I see. So something beautiful.
Did you hear that, babe? Wait, did you hear that? What Femi said?
Say it louder for the people in the back. Something beautiful is happening on December 3rd. What is it?
Yes. And then,
We'll end with this. So we talked about tools. Couples need tools. I wish to God I had this so we would not be in the place we were at. But I needed a conversation starter for how to talk about sex, how to talk about money, how to talk about boundaries, how to talk about communication. And you know what? Sometimes just to have a laughter.
Yeah.
And that is the tool that we created, 365 connecting questions for couples. Every single day you get a question.
Love it.
And it's really meant to spark the conversation that builds connection. Because I will tell you this, Bola, when I was hurting and so angry at Meygan, deep down, I still wanted to connect with Meygan. I still wanted to be with her. I didn't have a tool to have a conversation. And you know what? When we've talked to couples that have been separated, and they're like, the questions helped us talk without fighting. And that kind of started to build trust and accountability. And we kept having these conversations that weren't laced with cuss words or critical words or cutting words. We were just listening to each other. And we moved back into each other. We restored our marriage because they had that space for connection.
So can I just list out a couple of questions that people listening can take?
Yes.
These are actually the questions for this week. So they're great. And this will kind of give people an idea, because you can buy it on Amazon. You could buy it at Target starting December 3rd. I mean, you can pre-order it now on Amazon.
We have
ours
on the way. Can't wait to get it on December 3rd. Yes.
But listen to this. We were talking about childhood earlier. When you were crying or upset, how did your parents soothe and comfort you emotionally? Or did they? When you were growing up, did your family encourage and value therapy? Why do you think that was?
That's wow.
Okay. How could we be generous to others in this holiday season? Oh, great question.
I love
right?
that. I love that.
What is something or someone that always makes you laugh or smile, and why? Apparently, for Femi and Casey, it's making money or having fun. Spending money and having fun.
spending.
Yeah. Okay, look at this. Okay, how do the differences in our personality traits impact our communication? Examples: introversion, extroversion, optimistic, pessimistic, thinker and feeler. We just talked about all this. I mean, so look at those questions. This is not like, what's your favorite color,
Right.
Lola? You know? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, let's go there. And let me just tell you, if you're having a hard day and it's a deep question, skip to a fun question. You can go by. And here, you guys want to hear a quick God story, and then we have to go eat dinner and be with our kids.
Yes.
So we self-published this book back in 2018, and we sold over 100,000 copies.
Wow.
And then we just felt like we knew God was up to something big. And so this year in March, Penguin Random House, yes, the publishing company, came to us and said, we'd like to buy the book and we'd like to put it in all the stores, as many stores as we
That's
can.
amazing.
Wow.
And Penguin Random House was like, we actually love family and marriage, and we believe that this book is going to help like the maturity and the emotional intelligence of people. And we're like, oh my gosh, we can partner behind that. And so that's why, so we updated it. It's like a brand new
Love
book.
it.
And here's what's even cooler is we said, hey, could we put some faith and spirituality questions in the back? And they said, absolutely.
Love that.
And they allowed it.
I
which
love
is great.
that.
Wow.
And then we were like, hey, can we add parenting questions? Because our other book didn't have parenting questions on purpose. It was intentional. And so it's just, there's just so many great conversation starters. And I think husbands can wrap their mind around a book like this. I think it's not a book about marriage. It's a book for
You don't have to
marriage.
be an emotional genius, actually.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an emotional genius you just
Yeah.
flip open to a question,
Ask it.
Yep. And let the connection happen.
What is the official title of the book? A lot of people are asking.
365 connecting questions for couples.
And it's on Amazon. It's on Target.
Yep,
You can pre-order it.
And if you go to like Marriage 365 Instagram, you can always send us a DM where it's on like our profile, and you'll see like there's reels about it. It'll come in time. It'll come in time for Christmas, and this is a great Christmas gift. And I just want to say, if you buy it today, it's actually on sale today. We don't control that.
$13.49. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't control any of that. That's an Amazon thing. So I'm like, grab it today. Don't wait, because it was $18 for like 5 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
So get your copy today.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this has been so amazing. We have to come back for like part 2
again
and part 3. We have to. We have to, and we really appreciate you guys. We love you. I mean, it was instant connection for us, and these two guys just.
Ooh, I'm nervous. I think it'd be great. I think there's a little bromance going on.
I know, right?
But they're probably like secret texting each other.
Casey, see, I know what's going to happen tonight. You're gonna get something. I'm gonna get something. So
that's right. Why do you think I said, hey, I need to give Meygan a couple more words?
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Let's just end here. Let's have a quick word of prayer.
Yes. Listen, before we finish.
Oh, thank you everyone who joined. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, everybody.
I saw so many people.
Nadine, Olior.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Nadine
a whole lot
was
of
on
people.
fire with the
like
comments.
thousands of people.
We can't even name everybody.
Yeah.
And if you
please,
were here the entire time, thank you.
Thank you.
We see you. We recognize you. We saw your comments. For engaging.
Yeah, for engaging. We really love it. Go get the book right now on Amazon. Also, your retreat is coming up next year, October, right?
October, yes.
October 2025.
2025, and they can find the information on
our
bio
website, marriage365.com, or we're really pretty fast at answering DMs. We have a great DM.
Could you imagine? Someone goes to the Dominican Republic, has a wonderful like summer couples retreat, and then they can come to sunny Southern California.
I love that idea.
In October in the winter and have another sunny summer retreat.
So here's what you do right now. Everyone listening, go to www.doctorsbola.com. Go under our couples retreat. There's a $250 savings if you book today through I think next Tuesday. So go book it right now. DM us.
Do it now.
Yeah, do it now, right now. And then after you do that, go to marriage365.com, go under the retreats, and then register for the fall. That's in October 2025. Those are the only 2 retreats that you need for 2025. Then
you got it.
You got it. Exactly.
And buy and get this book and surprise your spouse for their stocking stuffer. $13, you guys, on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Like $13.
13. Yeah. That's it. You can save your marriage for $13. Yeah.
100%. Yes.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're gonna pray.
Yeah.
One last word is this, and I saw this earlier. It's easier to maintain your relationship than to repair it. Like it's less costly to maintain your relationship than to pay to repair it, right? So when you are going to retreat like this, you are maintaining your relationship. Think about a car. It's cheaper to maintain than to go repair the car, right? So maintain your relationship. Watch the hygiene lives that we all do. Consume the books because you are using that to maintain your relationship. The content, the information you are getting is the oil for your relationship.
Get that engine oil going.
Keep it going. So let's bow down our heads and pray now. Father Lord, we thank you for an awesome hygiene life that we had tonight with Casey and Meygan. Thank you for using them. Thank you for the gift you've put upon their lives. Thank you for that you call them and you qualify them. And thank you for the wonderful things you are doing through them. Thank you for their growth, for their experience. Thank you for that their issues did not divide them, but their issues brought them together, and it's helping them to touch many lives globally. Thank you, Lord, for those who watch tonight. Thank you for those that will watch the post part of it and they will share it to other people so that they can be blessed as well. Father Lord, as we go join into this weekend, let us have a great, awesome weekend. And after tonight, Lord, let it be a great session with our partners. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I think that was hint for sex.
Okay, go.
Great session.
Oh my gosh.
Great session.
Bye now.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
bye.
Thanks. Bye.